Good morning, fifth graders. Happy Friday. It's April 24th. If you don't already have your materials out for English Language Arts Social Studies, go ahead and get those ready. So remember, your warm-ups are due today. The last one on Friday is a very short warm-up, and you can just use your editing marks. You don't have to rewrite the sentences. And then I'm also going to post a DLR video for you to check and correct your assignments in a colored pen. And so you have very little on your menu for today, so please make sure that you do go over those assignments and check and correct them. And the DLR for the whole week is worth 10 points a day. So at the end of the 2 weeks, your packet completed and checked and correct with colored pen will be worth 100 points. Today we're going to watch our lesson video and read our story, Why Can't I Vote If I Must Fight? It's page 24 and 25. This is in your packet. We're going to use our pre-reading strategies, possibly look at some vocabulary, close read it together, and then we'll also share some comprehension questions. So I'm going to mark these off, assuming that we've finished them for today. And if you have a highlighter, you're welcome to get that out. So we're going to start with, why can't I vote if I must fight? What is the very first thing we do every time we get a new reading passage? We look at our text features, right? All right, so what's this text feature called? Title. And completion for this assignment today, when I get your packet back, I should see all these types of little notes in the margins. I should see you highlighting things, marking your, pre-reading your multisyllabic words and breaking them into parts, writing things in the margins. Your paper should look pretty much like mine. All right, and what do we call this over here? It's an illustration. It says the voting age is 21 for a reason. So our voting age used to be 21, and you can see a picture of these kids and they're coloring on a poster that says vote. We've talked a little bit about ballots, how you cast your vote. And this article is going to talk about the Vietnam War. And it's a war that the United States was involved in the 60s and 70s. And one of the things that was interesting about this war is that the men that went to it, not all of them wanted to go and fight. And so they sometimes were asked to go fight, and this is called being drafted. So that word is down here. So we know about writing drafts, but this is being drafted into the Army. And so if you weren't in college or you didn't have a family and you were a young man, they put all their birth dates in a container and they would pull them out. And if your birth date was picked, you were asked to go and fight in the war. And some people thought this was really unfair. So it was a lot of protesting. When we talked about protesting with our vocabulary words, it was one of our wordly wise words. And you guys might have seen protesters online protesting Governor DeWine and the rules that he's placed concerning the COVID-19. So there's a lot how this kind of relates to what's going on. If you look on page 25, we have 2 more text features. All right, another illustration. And it says, old enough to fight, old enough to vote. And then these people are protesting or speaking their opinion in a respectful manner. So we have the right to do that. We have the right to gather in the United States, and we have the right to express our opinions as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. And then what do we call this thing down here? Hopefully you said a glossary. Vandals, people who destroy property on purpose. All right, so before we get going, I want you to kind of think, what is our genre? What is the genre of this story? Fiction, for sure. And fiction means it's going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And there are 2 important things that we kind of look for when we're reading, things that we're going to highlight. Not only are we looking for beginning, middle, and end, but we're looking to mark the characters and the settings. Because when new characters are introduced and new settings are introduced, this is usually where the plot is developing in our story and where important things are happening. All right, so before we read, we're going to make sure that we don't have any words that we might need to pre-read, because we know that we can't read big words all at once. We can break them into chunks, just like we learned back when we were in kindergarten and first grade, chunky monkey, and we can then read them. So I'm going to go through, I'm just going to scan with my finger. Ooh, here's a good one. Muttered. Muttered. Another really good one. Bitterly. Bitterly. Keep going through. Ooh, a good one down here. Proclaiming. And this was that war that I was talking about. Vietnam, that's how they pronounce that. All right, I'm going to flip it over and see if we have any more juicy words. Ooh, here's a good one down here. Political. All right, so now we're ready to read. I encourage you to stop your video right now and read it independently. Good readers read things more than once. That's how we develop fluency. And when you're ready and have your highlighter ready, you can press play. All right, I'm assuming that you just read this article on your own, and we're going to read it together, and we're going to stop after every couple of paragraphs, and we're going to mark the information that we think is most important. All right, Brandon ran into the Stanton to tell his dad the news. Pa, I aced my final. Oh, you college kids always have something great to smile about, don't you? You're 20 years old, Brandon. Try a solid of hard instead of that easy college, Earl muttered bitterly as Brandon got ready to help his dad run his, as he did every day. All right, we're going to pause there. So what were some of the key things that we read? Remember, we're looking for characters, the people, and settings, places, and dates. So we have Brandon, we have the diner, we have Pa. We know that Brandon is 20 years old and he's in college. And we're also learning that he was getting ready to help his dad every day. All right, so that's a little details about our setting and about our characters. Okay, we're going to keep going. Remember, the expectation is that when I pause, you read the next word. And I know I can't monitor that when you're on a video, but it's really important that you do what I ask, because that's how you're going to improve your reading. After working in, Earl handed Brandon a flyer and, go hang this in the flyer showed kindergarten-age children drawing on voting. The caption read, the voting age is 21 for a reason. Brandon felt so. The flyer suggested that young people were naive, but Brandon was a far cry from you had to be 21 years old to vote, but many young people wanted the voting age lowered to 18. Brandon agreed with them, but he posted the flyer. All right, we're going to pause. So now we have a new character. Who was our new character that we learned about? Yep, we have Earl. Any other new characters? Well, there's one they just kind of mentioned in general, just young people in general. All right, what do you think was the main part? Like, what's the main problem he's facing right now in the world? Yeah, I think it's this last part here. So back a long time ago, you had to be much older to vote. All right, we're going to keep going. An hour later, they heard a loud smash as someone threw a raw egg at the diner. It landed right in front of the... Suddenly, two young appeared, yelling, "We are more qualified to vote than you, old..." What really caught Brandon's eye were the protester signs proclaiming, old enough to... Brandon wondered if this was about the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War had begun in 1962, now 7 years. Brandon knew that American men were still being sent by the thousands to risk their lives in Vietnam. Some were as young as 18 years old. Many soldiers didn't go by. They were drafted into and sent to fight in the... All right. Any new characters or settings? All right, we had our diner window. That's a place. We have some young adults that are protesting. We have a place, the Vietnam War. We have a date. Now, why am I highlighting a date? We say characters and setting. Why am I highlighting that? Oh, yeah. Setting means where and when. All right. Now, what do you think is the main thing these people are protesting? See if you can find one or two sentences that tell us the main reason they're protesting. Yeah, I think it's really this part down here. If they can fight, they think they should be able to vote. Main idea. All right, and I could guess that because that's the title. And usually our main idea is going to be in the title. All right, we're going to wrap up really quick at the end, and then I'll pause it and we'll finish our comprehension questions. We may not get through the whole reading on this video. Scram! If you have time to deface property, you have time for a... Irresponsible brats, Earl bellowed. Then he ordered Brandon to clean up the egg. Brandon quivered as he realized that he had to tell his father how he... Pa, I'm the same age as those protesters. I'm enough to drive every, go to, and work at the... And I could get drafted. Brandon paused to gather the courage to continue. The government trusts me to defend the country, so why doesn't it trust me to have a say in how the country is run? Maybe if my age had a say, they wouldn't feel the need to throw... Before Earl could respond, Mr. Carpenter, the president of the neighborhood board, walked in. All right, we're going to pause there. We need any kind of characters and settings. So we have Earl, who's his pa, so the same character we had before. We still have Brandon. We still have the diner. We still have the protesters. Now we have one more new character. Mr. Carpenter, the president of the neighborhood board. All right, I'm going to pause our video here so we don't run out of time, and then your second video will pick back up where it says Mr. Blakely.